Better late than never, I guess. Hey, what's up, folks? It's the Methodical AAA, and of course, like always, it's been a while. Let me update you on some things that have happened in my life. So, yeah, obviously, I finished college. Thankfully, but also kind of not thankfully, I currently have a job that makes my life miserable, so I feel just like everybody else on the planet. And also, my cousin's wife has moved into my house. Well, it's not even like this was a recent thing. She moved into my house a while ago when she was pregnant with triplets, and now she has given birth to said triplets. And yeah, that's a thing, but I can't lie. I have, in fact, learned to grow fond of those children, so. Anyway, The Last Jedi happened last year, hence why I'm talking about it now, 6 months into the new year. That's just how I operate. I make no promises on my next upload. Anyway, let me just get to the point. The Last Jedi, I genuinely do not want to talk about it. I feel because I enjoy Star Wars, and I will say that I am a Star Wars fan. To some capacity, I feel obligated to talk about The Last Jedi, but considering the amount of negativity surrounding The Last Jedi, I genuinely do not want to discuss this because there is apparently no middle ground. You either love it or you hate it. Hear me out. I feel that The Last Jedi is a good film. However, I understand many of the flaws with the film. You know, The Last Jedi has problems when you think of the answers to questions that were brought up in The Force Awakens. I really don't want to talk about this film. Let me explain. So I was planning on rewatching The Last Jedi in full so I can write a script based on what I feel about certain things in the film. It took me a while to even rewatch The Last Jedi because again, I don't want to talk about it. I decided to sit down and watch The Last Jedi, but I didn't want to. I decided to write down certain plot points or characters and pretty much just talk about how I feel about them in terms of The Last Jedi. So that's where I'm at. Because believe it or not, even though I say The Last Jedi is a good film, in my opinion, my enthusiasm for the film has dampened to the point where, as I said, I'm not willing to talk about it. But also, without The Last Jedi, here's how I would rank the Star Wars film. Welcome to my neighborhood. Without The Last Jedi, here's how I would rank the Star Wars films. It goes Empire, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens, say whatever you want, I still love The Force Awakens, A New Hope, Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, Attack of the Clones, and The Phantom Menace. Now see, kind of like with Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman, I'm not going to argue which is a worse film. You know, Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace, but probably because The Phantom Menace was the very first Star Wars film I had seen, and I knew nothing about Star Wars. I was like, what the hell is this? This is the worst thing I've ever seen. In my opinion, Attack of the Clones was so much better, but it still sucked ass, but that's besides the point. Anyway, that's my ranking of the Star Wars films without The Last Jedi. Immediately after watching The Last Jedi, I ranked it third, right below the Return of the Jedi. The second time I saw it, that rating still held up, but once I started to think about it more, it became on par with The Force Awakens, and now it has fallen, yeah, below The Force Awakens, definitely below A New Hope. I'd say right before. Shut up! I'm trying to do a video, god damn it! What was I saying? Alright, so yeah, like right above Rogue One. Even though I still feel The Last Jedi is a good film, here's the thing about flaws. They pile up the more you think about them. Hence the title of this video. The Last Jedi, when opinions kinda change. So let me just go right into the plot points and characters and talk about how I feel about them and see if you agree. Let's talk about Finn. See, here is, I say, one of the problems that arose from The Force Awakens. Because Finn was, like, he was constantly advertised as, you know, Stormtrooper turned Jedi. But that turned out to obviously not be the case. The Jedi is Rey. The problem with that is Finn, in The Last Jedi, now has nothing to do. Hence why he goes on this mission with Rose. I will say I like the idea of Rose, but I don't like the storyline that they went on. I think everybody on the planet can agree that Canto Bight was straight trash. Whether you like this film or not, Canto Bight was straight garbage, my dude. You could have made that sequence so much better by honestly not even having it be Canto Bight. I mean, based on my memory, Maz Kanata could have hacked whatever it was that was helping the First Order track the rebels or the resistance. What I would have liked for them to do is, like, for Finn Finn and Rose to straight up go down to where Maz Kanata is, help her out with, whatever shootout she's involved in. I assume that would have been fun to watch, and then they go straight onto Snoke's ship and then disable whatever they need to disable. You can't tell me that wouldn't have been a better idea. Alright, so that's like my main gripe with Finn's storyline. However, in terms of Finn as a character, I really like him because I feel he is the same person he was at the end of The Force Awakens. Let me explain. Throughout most of The Force Awakens, like, he was ready to abandon the First Order, he was ready to, run away, to save his skin, whatever. But then at the very end, you know what? I got nothing to lose. I'm going down fighting. And upon awakening from his coma, that's exactly the same person he is now. Like, given the chance, he's willing to do whatever he can to help the Resistance defeat the First Order, or at least run away from them. Because how many people are in the Resistance? Like 6 people? You could fit everybody in the Resistance in this room. That's besides the point. Anyway, I like the fact that Finn is the same person at the end. Like, when confronted with Captain Phasma, he has an opportunity to run away, but no. Say what you will about Captain Phasma's lack of importance, and I don't like the fact. I thought, another good storyline. Oh my god. I like the fact that Finn straight up fought Captain Phasma, which is something I was waiting for a while. And also, when they were on the, I can't remember the name of that planet. Like, I like the fact that Finn was willing to sacrifice himself to save the Resistance. That makes me feel that Finn grew as a person. But back to Captain Phasma. I explained this to a friend of mine a while back, but I personally would have liked if she was like a Darth Vader-esque villain for Finn. What do I mean by that? Not necessarily like, the familial aspect. Like in Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader is doing everything he can to get Luke. That's because he's his father. But I would have liked Captain Phasma to do everything she could to get back at Finn because he humiliated her back on Starkiller Base. I read something somewhere where someone proposed that Captain Phasma could even get demoted because of what happened on Starkiller Base. That would help her motivation even more. Just constant dogging Finn, and then at the end, when there's no way out, both of them just go at it. You can't tell me that wouldn't have been a better storyline. But let's move on. Now, Rey. I do not like Rey's storyline in The Last Jedi because it just seemed like a waste of time. See, one could say, oh, see, this is the idea of the film subverting your expectations. Yes, the film subverted my expectations because I expected, to some capacity, Rey was going to learn the ways of the Jedi by Luke, or at least learn why the Jedi needed to end from Luke, and also we were going to get some resolution on who her parents are. At the end, Rey kind of just gets good at the Force with absolutely no explanation. As for Rey's parents, there are people who want Rey to be a Kenobi. I personally do not like the idea of that. Now, I understand why some would assume that Rey is a Kenobi, considering that you hear Obi-Wan's voice, or Ewan McGregor's voice, in The Force Awakens when Rey has that Force vision, which, considering what happens in The Last Jedi, makes that shit completely superfluous. So I guess one would assume that, Obi-Wan, being Rey's grandfather, would call out to her and say, like, these are the first steps, as he says. Me personally, I would have liked if Rey was the daughter of Luke Skywalker. Prior to The Last Jedi, it would have made sense. I mean, all we would have known was that Kylo Ren, he destroyed the Jedi Temple. You can make the argument that because Kylo Ren destroyed the Jedi Temple, and who knows how many students, we also don't know the time frame of this. We don't know how long ago this happened. So you could say that Rey was like, 4 or 5 years old when this happened. And Luke, to save her life, dropped her off on Jakku to get out of Kylo Ren's grasp. Kind of like how Luke was dropped off on Tatooine to get out of Vader's grasp.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme. Hopefully it'll work.
But considering The Last Jedi, that clearly didn't happen, and it turns out that Rey's parents are nobody. I like the idea of that, but considering the questions that were brought up in The Force Awakens, it feels like a complete and total letdown. I mean, I get where one would come up with this, because, at some point, greatness started from nothing. One could say that Rey is the epitome of that idea. However, considering that J.J. Abrams directed The Force Awakens, and now he's coming back to direct Episode 9, it's possible that he's going to completely retcon that. And I think I know how he would do that. I guess you could make the argument Rey was using the Force to block the identity of her real parents from Kylo Ren, so that Kylo Ren would get it in his brain and say, oh, her parents are nothing. And then once he asks her, She straight up says, yeah, my parents were nobody. Kylo Ren gets that in his head, like he's reading her mind, like, oh yeah, your parents were nobody. They sold you for drinking money. I have a feeling if he's going to retcon it, that's exactly how he would do, because it doesn't necessarily make sense, but any other method to retcon it would make even less sense. Now, Kylo Ren. I surprisingly liked Kylo Ren's storyline in this film. This film makes me feel like Kylo Ren is a better prequel Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, I specifically say prequel Anakin Skywalker because I do not see this version of Anakin Skywalker as this version of Anakin Skywalker. The prequels are they're completely separate from the original trilogy in my opinion. I do not think of them as the actual backstory to Star Wars. I just do not. But if you're going to make that argument, then I feel like Kylo Ren is the slightly more intelligent version of Anakin Skywalker from the prequels, because he's just as whiny. However, he makes the steps that I would have assumed Anakin Skywalker, if he had a brain, would do, i.e. figure out that Snoke is the cause of his problems and kill him. And not only kill him, but take control of his empire once he's dead. That makes perfect sense to me. Now, whether or not Kylo Ren is going to be a good leader or not, that remains to be seen. But Kylo Ren, he's an evil guy. He killed his own father. He's not a good guy. He's not someone I should root for. And therefore, the way to really cement that idea is to have him kill his boss. And I really like the fact that he killed his boss. However, this brings me to the idea of Snoke. Again, questions brought up by The Force Awakens. Who is Snoke? Where did he come from? They say Snoke turned Kylo Ren to the dark side. Considering that Snoke is dead, we don't know how that happened. It would have been nice to understand how certain events unfolded so that we have a better understanding of the overall picture. But I guess in the name of subverting our expectations, Snoke was killed, and that's pretty much the end of it. And also, going back to Kylo Ren, the Knights of Ren. Luke said that once Kylo Ren burned down the temple, he took a handful of his students and just vanished. Where are said students? Where are the apparent Knights of Ren? I don't know if they're the Knights of Ren. I assume they would be, considering that Snoke is apparently the one who turned Kylo Ren to the dark side. Maybe he turned other students of Luke to the dark side and turned them into the Knights of Ren, but we don't know. Again, going back to The Force Awakens and questions brought up by The Force Awakens, they say Snoke... Snoke called Kylo the master of the Knights of Ren. So that brings up the question, who are the Knights of Ren? And one would assume we would get answers to these questions, but like many questions brought up in The Force Awakens, either the answer is not given or the answer is not up to par with our expectations. Now, for Luke Skywalker, I understand where many people would not like the idea of idealistic Luke becoming this mean curmudgeon. And I guess the idea of subverting expectations comes with creating the characterization of Luke in this film. I see every fandom has a toxic side, a side that is not willing to listen to reason. There are people who find issue with the fact that Luke, he read Kylo Ren's mind and he straight up was willing to kill Kylo Ren for a quick second before realizing his mistake. Now, I understand why people would not like that idea, but let's not forget the fact that Luke, he wanted to bring his murderous father back to the light side of the Force, yet he almost ended up killing him. Now, one would say, oh, Luke was older in this time period. He should have known better. Yeah, he should have known better. He straight up admits that he should have known better. He felt shame. That, personally, I feel is still in line with Luke Skywalker's character. He's so close to making a big mistake, but he pulls himself back at the last second. However, pulling himself back at the last second was not good enough because that 1 second brought everything crashing down around him, literally. And for the climax of the film, Kylo Ren versus Luke Skywalker. This is going to lead into a bigger discussion that I'm going to go into later, but I do like the idea of Luke pretty much being a Force projection. However, it was really stupid for Luke and the writers to make Luke use the blue lightsaber. Just use the green lightsaber. That was a stupid design flaw. Back to the fandom and the segment of the fandom that is not willing to listen to reason. Many people criticize Luke's death. I personally understood Luke's death. He pretty much ran out of Force power. He got exhausted and he died. I get it. But everybody's like, oh, that's bullshit. You know, how does that happen? You know, you should have went out like a badass. Regardless of whether he goes out like a badass, that is completely inconsequential to my argument. The main thing that I personally hear is that Luke just faded away, and they didn't like that. Remember Yoda? Yoda literally laid down and died. What is your argument? This is one of the many reasons why fandom can't have nice things. We tend to pick and choose our arguments. Like we say, this thing should not have happened, despite the fact that this thing did happen, and we tend to leave that out of our argument for the sake of making our voices be heard, regardless of whether or not our arguments make sense. You understand? This specific argument, the idea of Luke fading away, that does not make sense. And you know it does not make sense. Please, just stop. That being said, I feel maybe you should not have killed Luke. Like, once the Force vision evaporates and Luke is completely exhausted, that's fine. Like, you could have him sitting, you know, watching the two suns. Like, that's how you end that scene. I guess, like, you know, with the die, well, the fake die, I guess Leia using Force isms could pinpoint where Luke's location is so that the Resistance could fly the Millennium Falcon all the way to where Luke is, and that's how you would end the film. You know, Luke meets up, he actually has a real, you know, reunion with Leia, and I guess that's how you would end the film. It ends on hope, because this brings up the argument that everybody is in a worse position than they were in the beginning of the film. Now, while that is true, just like in Empire Strikes Back, everybody is in a worse position than they were in the beginning of the film. For me, it's common to hear that even though everybody's, you know, is worse off than they were before, it also feels like nothing really happened. And I must agree. Honestly, the only thing that really happened was most of the rebels die, Luke dies, Kylo Ren kills Snoke and becomes the Supreme Leader, and that's the end of the film pretty much. See, that specific argument I understand and I will agree with, even though I still feel that this is a good film. Back to Luke, you know, being a Force projection. This brings up the idea of new Force powers. Now, this is both good and bad. It's good because we see a Jedi Master use, you know, like the most of his abilities as a Jedi Master to do things that we've never seen before. However, it's also bad because why didn't previous Jedi Masters do this? In this film, it's established that Yoda clearly knows of these abilities. If so, why didn't he or any other Jedi Master use these abilities in the past? And also, I gotta ask, what is up with Force Ghosts? I always wondered this. Are Force Ghosts only visible to Jedi, or can Sith see them as well? Because with the new Force powers that we apparently witnessed in The Last Jedi, Yoda could do some serious damage to the First Order as a goddamn ghost. He could summon lightning from nothing and electrocute everybody to death. Is this something that can be done? Can you help out? No? Now, let me just talk about Leia real quick. I personally don't know what they were planning to do with Leia in Episode 9. I feel that they should just start off the film with Leia's passing. Like, you know, have Leia's funeral on the Millennium Falcon, because I feel like that would be appropriate. But as for Leia in The Last Jedi proper, the scene where she got shot out into space and she uses the Force to bring herself back onto the ship. Everybody clowns that scene. Everybody. I really like that scene because Carrie Fisher's passing, you know, affected me. You know, like it really did, like, more than I was expecting, and as well as the passing of her mother. Like that just like that for some reason just hit me. That prompted me to make my Star Wars video after the fact. But yeah, I thought, like, you know, when Leia got shot out of the ship, I thought that was the end of Leia. Done. But when Leia uses the Force to come back, it just made her seem immortal. And considering what happened in real life, I really enjoyed that scene. Now, I'd like to think that I spent a good deal of time, well, mostly criticizing The Last Jedi. I'm pretty sure I put some praise towards the film. I also, you know, called out the fandom for some inconsistencies in their arguments. But I will 100% say that many of the criticisms with The Last Jedi, I feel are valid. I feel like nothing really happens. There are things of consequence that happen, but nothing really progresses. That begs the question, how am I personally able to see the problems with The Last Jedi and still like the film? How am I not angrier about this? I would say I have Power Rangers to thank. Yeah, Power Rangers. What do I mean by that? All right, see, Power Rangers, for me personally, is so close to my heart. There are currently 6 main things in fiction that I hold close to my heart. Star Wars, Avatar: The Last Airbender, comic book superheroes, Dragon Ball Z, Power Rangers, and Disney. Hey, let's be honest, Disney has everybody by the balls, especially with Marvel and Star Wars. But yeah, like to some capacity, those things that are close to my heart, I've made videos on, but never really Power Rangers. But yeah, Power Rangers, that has been with me since I was like 3 years old. I have watched every season of Power Rangers. I love Power Rangers. Like, in fact, let me give you a quick summary of how I feel about every season thus far. Don't worry, this won't take long. It might, because I have some shit to say, but nah, let me just... Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I like it. I feel it's overrated. However, considering this was the first and currently the most popular form of Power Rangers, clearly it has something to it. Power Rangers Zeo. It doesn't really have much in terms of story, but I love the music and I love the suits. Power Rangers Turbo. It gets a lot of hate. I understand the hate. This is not anywhere close to one of my favorite seasons of Power Rangers, but I understand the hate. That being said, it's not that terrible. Power Rangers in Space. Now, this is an excellent season. 100%, like, because this was when Power Rangers was supposedly going to end, so they just went balls to the wall. They did the story they wanted to make, and it turned out so good. Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Now, this one is one of my personal favorites, because this is when my brain started to process information and started to retain memories. Many of the memories I have of watching Power Rangers started with Lost Galaxy, so there's so many episodes that I love watching to this day, and like I said, it's one of my favorites. Lightspeed Rescue. It's fine. Nothing great, nothing terrible. It's fine. Power Rangers Time Force. I love this season. This is straight up my favorite Power Ranger season, as well as I feel the best Power Ranger season. 100%, I love this season, and I don't care what anybody says, Jen Scotts is the best Pink Ranger, hands down. Say what you want about Kimberly. Kimberly's great, but Jen, oh.
I've waited for this for a long time.
My mission is to bring you back. And I promise you, I'm going to do it!
Wild Force. Could have been better. It has some great team-up episodes though, but it was kind of corny. However, it has one of the best Power Rangers villains, period. Ninja Storm. Again, one of my personal favorites. The story could have been a lot better. The villains, not that great. Definitely not that great. However, I love the Power Rangers in this season, and just yesterday, I watched the 2-parter General Deception. Love that 2-parter. Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Now, this is the way to bring back someone from the previous generation. 100%, I really enjoyed Dino Thunder. Power Rangers SPD. Jesus Christ, I love SPD. Especially since at one point I did look like the Red Ranger. I love SPD, even though sometimes, especially with the inclusion of Sam, shit just doesn't make sense. However, SPD, one of my favorites, love it. Mystic Force. Could have been so much better. The constant focus on the Red Ranger Nick was just completely unnecessary, especially since some of the best episodes in Mystic Force are the 2-parter Stranger Within, which I feel is one of the best 2-parters in Power Rangers, period. Off topic, but I love that shit. Operation Overdrive. Everybody says it sucks. I don't deny it. For me, it was completely forgettable. I remember sitting down and watching all 32 episodes on Netflix. Can't remember what happened. That's it. Jungle Fury. When it was coming on, I thought I was going to hate it, probably because I didn't really care much for Operation Overdrive even as it was airing before I even sat down to watch it on Netflix. However, when I sat down to watch Jungle Fury on Netflix, it actually turned out to be really good. RPM. Again, one of my favorites. This, however, I feel is the Empire Strikes Back of Power Rangers. 100%. I love this season, and I'm probably going to watch it again. Now, Power Rangers Samurai. This is when shit gets bad. Over the course of 2 years, we get this. I have to do a separate Power Rangers video, but god damn it, Power Rangers Samurai was a disgrace, and it would only get worse with Megaforce. 20 years of Power Rangers, and this is what you give us. 20 years. 20 years of Power Rangers, and you shit on everything that came prior? How dare you? Oh! Dino Charge. One would think it couldn't get worse, right? Actually, no, it didn't get worse. Dino Charge was actually pretty good. I like it. I mean, a big reason as to why I like Dino Charge is because of Shelby. Oh, Shelby, I love you. And now currently Ninja Steel. Ninja Steel is not good. It's bad. It's very bad. It's not good. It's so not good. It's very bad. And that's all I have to say on Power Rangers so far. Now, after that long-ass tangent, let me go back and bring it to Star Wars. Like many Star Wars fans, I have dealt with disappointment in things that I hold dear to my heart. However, because of things like Power Rangers Megaforce and the sheer disappointment brought on by that, and also currently Power Rangers Ninja Steel and also Power Rangers Samurai, I learned to just take things as they're given. Count your blessings. If something sucks, you've seen better. Sure, it sucks that it sucks, and it more than likely completely screws up the things that you hold dear that came back in the day, but at least you still have those. Ninja Steel is trash, Samurai is garbage, Megaforce was a complete waste of time, but at least I still got RPM. At least I still got Time Force. At least I still got Zeo. At least I still have In Space, Lost Galaxy, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD. Everything that I hold dear is still there. And I feel that's probably why I don't feel as much vitriol towards The Last Jedi as some other Star Wars fans might. Like I said earlier, you know, this new edition might, screw up some things that have come before, but at least we still have those old things. Those old things still bring us enjoyment. You still got Empire, you still got A New Hope, you still got Return of the Jedi. If you want, you can do exactly as I do towards the prequels, just completely block this one out if you want. And apparently that's what people are doing, except they're taking it too far because I don't know if they're still doing it, but at some point they made a petition to erase The Last Jedi from canon. Now, me personally, I don't take it that far because I guess I've thus far learned to deal with disappointment in things that I've loved, and that has helped me grow as a result. Thus far, I don't know, maybe episode 9 is going to be such a disaster that I'm going to eat every single word that I have just said. Who knows? But that's how I feel right now. Compared to when I was younger, I don't let it get to me as much. Even though, like I said early in the video, like flaws, they pile up the more you think about them. And in the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. Star Wars is just a movie. Just like how Power Rangers is just a television show. You love it, but if it sucks, you move on with life. I have other things to keep me occupied. I got other things to keep me occupied. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about The Last Jedi. And in fact, I feel better that I got all of this off of my chest because, you know, even though I wasn't really emotionally affected by all of this, I knew for a fact that I genuinely wanted to just say something, even though I didn't want to talk about The Last Jedi. Because, like I said, the negativity surrounding this film is just so massive. It affects my enjoyment of it. Let me end it by saying, once again, I do feel The Last Jedi is a good film. However, it is definitely flawed, and I guess it remains to be seen where the Star Wars saga will go in the future. So that's all I have to say. So yeah, I'm the Methodical AAA, and until next time, whenever next time might be, peace.